Assalamu alaikum. Hi everyone. Warmly welcome for the second session of Process Safety Management, NIBOSH, HSC Certificate in Process Safety Management, and we are going to discuss about element 2, that is all about management of process. Now, this element 2, as I told you, every element have sub-processes, sub-elements. But before we discuss sub-elements, no harm to understand what would be the learning outcome of this element 2. The outline, the purpose, and the importance of establishing a PSM and its key elements. We just need to understand and outline the purpose and importance of establishing a PSM and its key elements. We also need to understand the common risk management techniques used in process industries, and no harm to understand the asset management and maintenance strategies for the process plant. And also we have to be capable to explain the role, purpose, and features of permit to work. Explain the key principles of safe shape handover, and also explain the principles of selecting, assessing, and damaging the contractors. So let's start with the process safety leadership. And these are some of the questions. Might be it will be helping you. I'm not going to answer here, but I'm giving again food for thought for element 1. This process safety leadership, and some of the questions will be helping you. Just go one by one, and you just need to find out the right answers, because I'm linking these questions for element number 1. Okay, but make sure you find out the right answer. But all these questions belong to element number 1. And if you can find out the right answer of all these questions, that means your element 1 is well prepared, inshallah. And of course, you will be getting high marks for sure, inshallah. And what is like process safety leadership means? Find out the right answer. Process safety leadership puts more focus where? Consequence of process industry leaders don't understand hazards and risks inherent in their business. Process safety leadership puts more focus on what? Leadership team or what? Poor leadership decisions can create major accidents in the near miss future. So these are the questions you need to find out the right answer. But all these questions relevant to element number 1. That means process safety leadership. Business risk and impact due to a major accident. Board level visibility and PS process safety leadership key roles in line with process safety responsibilities, and a business who have overall responsibility and accountability, like top management, director, subordinates, or who. Engineering manager is responsible for what? Maintenance manager is responsible for what? Engineers, electricians, fitters are responsible for what? Who is responsible for process safety? What is PSM responsibility of individuals working in the plant? What is important for process safety? Root cause analysis helps to find the wider findings in the how to create a safety culture, how CEO or senior management ensure competent instrument. All these questions are prepared by me. So just make sure you find the right answer. What type of resources are required for ensuring high standard of process safety? What is the meaning of process safety objectives and targets in an effective organization? What are the sound reasons for establishing process safety objectives, targets, and indicators? The board management must review the safety indicators and targets, identify the process safety indicators, what the key steps to perform performance measurement, establish the organizational arrangements to implement the indicators, setting up KPIs to identify the risk control systems in place to prevent major accidents, Identify the critical elements of each risk control. So some of the questions I added from the exercise as well. Setting up KPIs is to establish the data collection of reporting. KPI setup need the steps, which is to review what commitment to continue improvement means what. So same way you will get some questions and just stop on each question and find out, because I just copy paste there. So some of but of course the questions are visible. So I want you guys to find out the right answer. Okay, you can stop anywhere and just make sure you understand the question and then find out the right answer. It's not like only to the options. You can find answer by reading the book, process safety management book, or maybe the presentation. But anyhow, this training is belong to element 2, that is all about management of process risk. Again, this element have sub elements, total 6 sub elements are there, like 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, and 2.6. 2.1 is all about establishing a PSM system, and 2.2 is all about risk management techniques, especially within the process industries. And 2.3 is all about assets management and maintenance strategies. 2.4 is role, purpose, and features of the permanent work system, and the safe shift handover is all about 2.5, and contractor management 2.6. So let's start with 2.1. That is all about establishing a process safety management system. Now, why we need to develop PSMS? That means process safety management system. So there are moral reasons and legal and financial. So remember 3 reasons: moral, legal, and financial. I hope it will give you an idea. Avoidance of incidents and disasters is all about relevant to moral reasons. Often a clear legal requirement and maybe internal company standards. So make sure you are complying with all the legal standards. Financial reasons: avoid losses associated with disasters. Now, what are the key elements of process safety management system? We need strong leadership. We need hazard analysis. MOC must be there. Operation within design intent, and competence management. So 5 important elements are there of PSMS. And remember the strong leadership, not the weak leadership, not the handsome leadership. We need the strong leadership. And make sure they have capability for hazard analysis, and they understand the management of change process, and they know how to play within the design intent and the competence management. Like strong leadership is all about such directions and determines culture. Hazard analysis, detailed understanding of process hazards and risks. Process hazards and risks. Understand the consequences before changes are made. That's all relevant to MOC. Before you implement the change, make sure you understand the consequences of that change. So pros and cons of any MOC, make sure you write down, you reevaluate, and then you start implementing this particular change. And of course, consultation is very much important. Now, operation within the design intent, this the system says, PSM system says, under all conditions, including startup and maintenance, you must be capable to understand the operation within the design intent. And competence management, that means is all about ongoing training. So SHMOC, HSMOC, you have to remember: strong leadership, hazard analysis, MOC, operation within design intent, and competence management. Few others are there, like control of contractor, asset integrity, emergency response, incident reporting and investigation, performance monitoring, and management review. These are also important steps of important elements of process safety management system, like control of contractors. And imagine, like Saudi Aramco, you have contractors in thousands, how they are managing asset integrity, like maintenance plan and breakdown, and make sure you are well maintaining the shelf life, or the shelf life of your certain equipments. And then emergency response, foreseeable incidents, loss of containment, and incident recording and investigation to learn lessons, performance monitoring, and management review. That means leading and lagging indicators are well reviewed. If you are missing any of above elements of PSM, like the system, of course things would not be in the right direction. So remember 10 key elements are there of process safety management system. Okay. Strong leadership, hazard analysis, MOC, operation within the design intent, competence management, control of contractor, assets integrity, emergency response, incident recording and investigation, and performance monitoring and management review. That means leading and lagging indicators are well reviewed. I hope you would be understanding this PDCA, but remember, it's an important element of PSM system. That means plan. There must be some policies and planning. You need to implement an operation and checking and corrective actions and act, management review, and continual improvement. So plan, do, check, act. Plan, do, check, act. First, you need to plan through policies, and better planning steps must be there. And once your plan is done, implement and do it, and check properly and take some actions. Go for further actions like management review and continuous improvement. So remember, this PDCA is an important element or is an important ingredient of PSM. So yes, the most important requirement is license to operate, application made to regulators to run process, supply a safety case, duration during application, high hazards identified, major accidents risk identified, and control risk control to allow. Now, this, let me give you an example. Like you are going to install a hazardous plant. Of course, you need certain approvals from the regulators or from the government. And this approval, they will demand a lot of documentation like geological study of that area, the air analysis, and the process study of each process, what will go in the air and how complicated that process would be and what products you are going to produce. So all informations in depth, even the noise level expected and everything, you need to mention in advance, and then if that, you know, everything goes fine, they will definitely allow you to, or they will issue you the license to operate, because what they're going to realize, the regulators and the government, that means you are a responsible company. You are having some solid experts and they understand what to do and how to do and why to do and when to do, to be very honest. So, and also in advance, you must be capable to identify the major accident risk and controls. And of course, some of the things I would say the risk, especially the alarm. This alarm I noted in one of the HSC, the government of UK, they have prepared the COMA, like control of major accident hazards, HSC. That's also will definitely give you an insight. But remember, as low as reasonably practicable, you can use different tools, to bring your hazards as low as reasonably practicable at that level. Now, major accident prevention policy, MAP must be there. Major accident prevention policy. You need to develop that policy. How you will prevent from major accident. And that should contain the roles and responsibilities very clearly. And the responsible people, they must be competent one and the industry experts, and make sure the identification of major accident hazards, operational control measures, emergency plans on and off site, monitoring process and auditing process. So these are some of the major accident prevention policy which need to be developed and communicated with all the interested parties. Now, what is the meaning of leading indicators or lagging indicators? As I discussed earlier in the element 1, is all about proactive and reactive measures. So leading indicators basically a proactive measurement of conditions that monitor process before something goes wrong and to see if things are operating as intended, as designed, as expected, And lagging indicators is a reactive measure, even though we learn from our failures, such as the number of injuries, near misses, spills, which are reported or, exertions or where plant is operated outside of the intended operational development. Now, development and implementation of process safety indicators determine what can go wrong in the process and identify risk controls to prevent such incidents, establish lagging indicators to measure failure of these risks, establish critical actions for each risk control system, and develop leading indicators to monitor whether these are working. So monitor and review indicators. So make sure you have well developed the process safety indicators, especially the lagging and leading indicators. Now, leading and lagging indicators in PSM is all about checks and balance to determine how well the site is managing process safety. Effective indicators of process safety are what? Like leading indicators, proactive measures of conditions. You need to find out, what can go wrong, or might be this picture can also give you an insight how things can go wrong. Identify problems before harm occurs. An example, testing of emergency systems versus plan. So these are leading indicators, and one example is also given. Now, what is lagging indicators? Some measures of failure, example, accident, incident, near miss data, etc. Now, what is auditing? We need to understand some of the key terms for better understanding of this PSM theories. But remember, it's not theory. Everything is some kind of a practical step. So practice makes a man perfect. If it is written like auditing, so try to be a better PSM auditor. But remember, what is the definition? A systematic, objective, critical evaluation of how well an organization's management system is performing by examining what? The evidence. So it's an evidence-based, objective evidence-based auditing, but systematically, objectively, and with better critical evaluation, make sure you are conducting this audit. Now, auditing compliance. First of all, audits again is a foundation of being proactive. Checking health and safety system is well managed. Check certain controls are in place and working. Identify areas for improvement, which can then feed new health and safety plans, like for continual improvement. So in process safety management, basically you always find out what the opportunity for further improvement. At any stage, you can't say your industry is 100% okay, or you are 100% improved. Even you believe, you feel, you realize that you are 100% excellent all the way, still try to find out some areas for further improvement. Let's talk about risk management techniques. How are we gonna go with risk management, and within the process industries is a subpart 2. There is a question, what do you understand by term hazard, and how do we determine the level of risk? So what is the difference even between hazard and risk? So please, again, food for thought for all of you, and start thinking. What is the meaning of hazard? What is risk? Otherwise, as per NIBOSH theories, hazard is something that have potential to cause harm. Just remember, potential to cause harm. Anything, something. But risk is a likelihood, is a chance, that a hazard will cause harm in a combination with the severity of injury, damage, or loss. Okay. So I repeat again, hazard is something that has potential to cause harm. And likelihood that a hazard will cause harm in a combination with the severity of injury, damage, or loss that might foreseeable occur. Now, what is the purpose of risk assessment? If your purpose is not clear, you don't understand why you are doing risk assessment. What is the purpose? What is the use of risk assessment? Of course, you will not be fully engaged with full of passion and zeal or kind of necessity. Remember, this risk assessment is essential, important, imperative in the management of safety in workplaces. It will help us to identify and evaluate risk by considering the likelihood and the severity of harm occurrence. It will help us to have some risk controls are well identified and reduce the risk to an acceptable level. Now, if we create a question, what is the purpose of risk assessment? So you need to be capable to give the answer. From every slide, it's a suggestion to all of you. If you really want to achieve 100% marks or above than 90% marks with this NIBOSH PSM, remember you have to think two ways. You have to learn as a training, every word logically and technically. And on the other side, you must be capable as an examiner how to create questions out of each slide. Read the slide, understand every word technically and logically as per your experience also, and then start creating questions. And of course, the answer is already there within the slide, right? Now, general risk assessment. Step one, identify the hazard. They can ask, the question, what are the steps of risk assessment? So make sure you remember the sequence from 1 to 5 steps. So total 5 steps are there. So 1 to 5 steps in sequence you need to remember. So the number one step is you need to be able to identify the hazards. Number two is identify the people who might be harmed and how. Number three is evaluate the risk and decide on precautions. Number four is record the significant findings, and step five is review and update as necessary. So these are the basic risk assessment process flows for HSCs, like 5-step approaches there. It's a general risk assessment. That means these 5 steps are only for general risk assessment. What we have to do, identify the hazards. Could be electrical, could be mechanical, could be environmental, could be physical, okay, could be biological. So make sure you identify, you're capable to identify the hazards. That is number one step. Now, from these hazards, who might be harmed and how? That should be your number second step within the risk assessment to mention. Now, evaluate the risk and decide on the precautions. And the third step, you need to evaluate the risk and decide the control, the precautions, and the best precautions, I would say. And number four is all about record the significant findings. And step five is review and update as necessary. Please, I repeat again, remember the steps. So identify who might be harmed, evaluate precautions. Number four is record the findings, and number five is review and update as necessary. Now, there is previous was the general risk assessment, and if we are doing advanced risk assessments, which are more important, in PSM, what we have to do is identify hazards, risk estimation and ranking of risk evaluation and implementation of risk reduction to ensure regulatory compliance, and then review and identification of possible additional risk reduction. So these are the advanced risk assessment. You identify the hazards, you estimate the risk. That means you find out the number, how terrible that risk level is, and you rank up all the risk, and then you evaluate and start implementing some control for reduction of this risk level and ensure regulatory compliance. Now remember, there are different types of risk assessments. It will help you to understand, how important to understand all three different types of risk assessment, like qualitative, semi-quantitative, and quantitative risk assessment. I repeat again, qualitative, which normally we do all the time, semi-quantitative and quantitative risk assessment. Qualitative is all determined as low, medium, and high, which normally we are doing for different organizations or processes. We find out high, low, or medium risk by R is equal to likelihood multiply consequences. And then, we find out number and we see either the risk belong to the high area or the low or the medium. And if it is high, we need immediate actions or, So if it is semi-quantitative, it's all about determined within the ranges. And quantitative QRA, which is very much important, especially in PSM, fully calculated based on data, fully calculated based on data. So qualitative is all about low, medium, and high determinants, and then semi-quantitative determine within the ranges, and also quantitative, that's all about based on the data. So risk could be intolerable, a low region, as low, you know, as reasonably practicable, or broadly acceptable. So if it is Q, is broadly acceptable. SQ is allowed region, Q is intolerable. So now it's up to you which risk assessment pattern you are going to use. Okay, guys. So now we have some models, because some, I would say, some kind of tools even to do our risk assessment better and to understand the best barriers. Like there are barriers between hazard and loss, and to understand these barriers, we will see one of the picture given below. An incident only occurs whether there is a failure in each barrier, sometimes known as the Swiss cheese model. So Swiss cheese model, when the holes line up, there is an accident or the hazard is realized. Like we have hazards, and if we are not blocking them at any level, the losses will be there. Like if the hazard is continuously like breaking all the barriers or finding out place to move on, then of course, the losses would be there. And how we do this, how we apply this Swiss cheese model, again, maybe I can make another video, or you can start searching on YouTube and watch some videos and see how practically we can implement this. Now, the application of risk management tools, most effective tools are initially considered the concept and the design stage. So safety starts from the design, from the concept. Before startup, a more complete risk assessment should be carried out. Before startup, that means proactively. Additional controls may be needed during unusual process activities, e.g. like startup and shutdown. We need some additional controls. Hazard must be realized, like hazard realization requires the assessors to look at worst case scenario. Once these are understood, control can be implemented in form of barriers. Don't implement any barrier. Don't put barriers mean a kind of controls, But if you don't understand the benefit of these controls or the effectivity of these controls, don't put that barrier. Otherwise, your Swiss cheese model again would be a failure to understand. These barriers can then be placed between the initiator, like triggering event, and the potential consequences to either prevent or reduce the outcome. When drawn together, this is known as bow tie diagram. And this is bow tie model. Maybe it will help you to understand in a better way. Like we have example barriers, maybe plant layout, construction standards, inspection and instrumentation. And we have barriers like the detection system, emergency shutdown, active protection, passive protection, escape, evacuation, rescue. So according to the initiative or initiating events, because these will be definitely like plant layout, construction standard, inspection instrument. So we will definitely start releasing them and see the consequences, but make sure the barriers are in place in terms of detection system, in terms of emergency shutdown, passive protection, or escape, evacuation, rescue. So any initiating events or any kind of things or barriers you are implementing, make sure you understand the consequences to bow tie model. Maybe I'll make another video especially for this to understand in a better way. Now, hazard and operability study, HAZOP. That's another important study, because we are talking about risk assessment or analysis. So, sometimes I say if you are capable to conduct HAZOP studies, the industry will be welcoming you. So it's a multidisciplinary team approach. Even it's a teamwork, breaks process into nodes, small chunks. So you break up the process and bring up, smaller steps even, and then agree parameters to be studied, like flow, pressure, temperature, all need to be studied in Hazard. Agree guide words to be used like more, less, or no reverse. Combine guide words with parameters to create deviations, more flow, less flow, or no flow. Identify potential cause and control. So these are some of the key ingredients which must be part of hazard study. This is just an example. Maybe it will help you to understand in a better way. The hazard findings are recorded in a tabular format and retained as an evidence of the study. Example is tracked from a hazard of a domestic shower. Just take one parameter like temperature. Guide word is more, deviation is more temperature, cause what? More flow hot water. Consequence called like installed thermostatic valve. So whatever the consequence you are, discomfort or scald, so you need to find out, the actions like install thermostatic valve, so easily you can understand or control the temperature. Maintenance trained operator, if a boiler too high, and if low flow cold, other tab used what? Investigate engineering solutions. Now, again, temperature is there. Guide word is less temperature, more flow cold, discomfort. Thermostatic valve will address, or boiler too low, that means discomfort, maintenance trained operators. Less flow hot, other tab use, discomfort, no further action needed as not safety critical. So this kind of study through the guide words as per the hazard formulation, of course, will give you an idea what would be the best action, because at the end, your actions must be technically sound, but you can't go for the action until you understand each process parameter and their guide word and deviations and the root causes and the consequences, and based on that, you will be able to take some right action. Now, another tool of risk assessment is all about hazard identification, the hazard. Like it's a multidisciplinary, again, the team approach, brainstorming process may involve a walkthrough, identify hazards to be feed to risk assessment process, top-down study. So top-down study structured by keywords. We have another one, failure mode effect analysis, like FMEA requires a multidisciplinary team to identify like failure modes, ways it can fail, effects of the failure, severity, like impact to the customer, cause. You need to find out the failure mode effect, analysis in detail, and occurrence like chances of it happening, detection, what is in place to spot it, and what is the formula. Make sure determine risk priority, like risk priority number, severity is equal to severity multiply multiple detection, multiply detection, recommended actions to be taken by whom and by when. So these are some effective tools for risk assessment which you need to understand one by one, including like he can create a question, which method of risk assessment is very much useful, like hazard, like HAZOP, like FMEA, like different models are there. Another one we have like event tree analysis. So what we do is, let's take an example. The fire event just initiated. Now we need to see our system. Either we have fire detection system. If it is yes, of course the alarm must be ringing in. If the alarm is defective, or imagine the employees would be unable to evacuate, right? So your fire detection system is critical. Your alarm system is also critical. Very much important in case of fire incident. Otherwise, people would be unable to evacuate. Now, that is why if fire incident happened and fire detection is there, but alarm sound is not there, site not evacuated, horrible. The result would be horrible. Okay. Now, what if scenarios, what if analysis would also be helping you by assuming or putting some technical logics behind. Assessors use risk realization to identify the true potential of the incident. For example, loss of containment of a flammable liquid could potentially result in fire, explosion, damage, injury, and fatality, even if it does not in the particular incident. So, what if analysis? In advance, we create what if analysis, and we start studying deeper and deeper our, in depth of our processes and the combination of our processes, through this what if analysis. Now, the concept of a law, as low as is reasonably practicable, what is the concept behind it? Cannot reduce all risk to zero. Remember that one. Introduce control to reduce risk to lowest level achievable without occurring disproportionate cost, some flexibility in how to achieve, balance risk versus cost, time, effort, guidance, provide information, and what is considered a law. Now, what is the hierarchy of control? The hierarchy of risk control, especially in PSM, is all about starting with inherent safety. That means build safety within the design state or in a design state. So safety starts from the design. The moment you are starting designing of your site layout of your building or construction or layouts are there or drawings are started. So right from the idea, right from the design stage, you start inheriting safety requirements inbuilt. Imagine you purchase a machine, but safety requirements were not inbuilt, So, or the safety features. Let's take an example. The safety, the guards are there on all moving parts like flywheels or different kind of moving parts or belts, chains are there. But imagine if no safety devices or no sensors are there, or if these guards are missed. Okay, the second step is all about elimination. Remove a hazard, minimize inventories, substitution, lower hazard alternatives, and union controls, segregation, spacing of process plant, administrative control, procedural behavior as well. So as per PSM, as per NIBOSH theory, the hierarchy of risk controls is all about start from design to build up your safety within the design stage, elimination, remove a hazard or minimize inventories, substitution, lower hazard alternative, engineering controls, segregation, spacing of process plant, administrative controls, and procedural behavior. Okay, guys, so that was the part number 2.2 of management of process risk, element 2. Now we are going to discuss 2.3, assess management and maintenance strategies. For assets, some management is all about integrity standards, consideration of relevant standards, and at design stage. During the design stage, you need to see within our equipment or within our machines or within our building, what relevant standards we have to consider, or either they are considered well or we miss several. Now, standards ensure safety and integrity. For example, ISO standards like EN ISO standards, welding standards, pressure ratings. Now, an organization doesn't currently have a process to manage and maintain the integrity of plant and process equipment. What argument could you use to convince the management that such a system is needed? What do you think? How are you going to convince the management? Because no integrity in the plant and process equipment is there. Now, what is asset? Let's understand some of the key terms. An item of equipment or an area of production plant. The ability of an asset to operate as intended effectively and efficiently over its entire lifespan, whilst the ensuring the health and safety of those exposed to it, including the environment. So, ability of an asset to operate. That is why several companies started assets management programs, and they involved finance and accounts department, even the warehouse manager, the procurement manager, even the manufacturers or the contractors would be on board just to, and even the maintenance teams, I would say, for maintainability and ensuring the shelf life of these assets. Now, what would be the consequences of failing to manage the integrity of assets, because damaged, wearing, or defective equipment can fail and cause leaks. Equipment failure, of course, can impact plant safety and productivity, and safety systems may fail to operate. We truly need to bear in our mind breakdown maintenance is expensive and less effective than preventive maintenance. That is why this ethics is. I don't know either you have listened this word ever before. Ethics is commonly used to refer to the two European directives that control exposure and atmosphere. It is from the French title of 1949 EC, European Commission Directive. Okay, so ethics approved equipment is suitable for use in an explosion environment is given a symbol which is shown on the next slide as well. This symbol you will find on certain equipments, and that will highlight this particular equipment, or it is ethics approved, so the equipment will be in flammable atmosphere still can contain, and especially the consideration include a flammable atmosphere, wet conditions, harsh environments like salty atmosphere, corrosive chemicals, for example, in potentially flammable atmospheres where vapor or dust can result in fire or explosion, ethics approved equipment must be used. And this ethics approved equipment, we can see several in Saudi Aramco, or even in Sabic or Sadara or some other. Asset integrity through the life cycle, there are phases, of course, we need to understand. Number one is design to be safe, procurement, construction, installation, and testing. Building completed correctly, built completely correctly, and commissioning, standard checked and signed off. And most importantly, the operation operate within the design intent. Sometimes we believe the design intention was good enough, but during operation is a failure. So maintenance and inspection, modifications planned and assessed first, decommission, safe removal from the operation. Now, plant maintenance and documentation, make sure there is maintenance record retained. Some are legally required, like statutory record of pressure systems can be paper or electronic, must be traceable. Yes, there must be risk-based maintenance and inspection strategy, like 3 types: breakdown maintenance, condition monitoring, plant preventive maintenance. So remember BCP, 3 types of risk-based maintenance and inspection strategies are there: breakdown maintenance, condition monitoring, and plant preventive maintenance. That means BCP must retain records for all. Again, another question for your just food for thought. Which maintenance activities are carried out in your organization? You have to go back and start studying your organization, fit them into the 3 maintenance types: breakdown maintenance, condition monitoring, or plant preventive maintenance. Now, risk-based calibration of instrumentation. This calibration is also critical. In one of the company, I noted the incident happened because, some of the sensors, like H2S sensors, they thought they are telling the right reading, but unfortunately were not calibrated, not tested by the fully approved laboratory. And because of wrong reading, the person was no more, because the calibration was not done, and the wrong reading, like instead of telling the 20 ppm H2S was there, it was showing 10 ppm or maybe less than that. So because of this error, it's all over. Unexpected downtime, economic losses. Now, the accuracy of measurement instrument drift over time, especially for process industry, this is one of the important element I'm telling you. Make sure all your measuring equipments are well calibrated by the globally acceptable and well-led laboratory, because the accuracy of measurement instruments drift over time. Users must check instruments periodically to see if they have drifted and make adjustments as necessary. Process owners should take a risk-based approach to establish calibration and inspection criteria. Process owners should take a risk-based approach to establish calibration and inspection criteria. Another question for all of you: give some example of essential instrumentation in your workplace. Go back and see how many measuring equipments are there. would workers die or be injured if the instrument did not read correctly confined space entry, suppose, and you have gas testing equipment? Just go back and see what can go wrong. Now, the number 4, 2.4 point of element 2, management of process risks, is all about role, purpose, and features of permit to work system. It's an important PTW system. Now, what is permit to work system? Is all about a formal documented procedure that forms part of a safe system of work. It is commonly used for high risk work and it documents measures to reduce risk such as isolation. It is used to ensure that the correct precautions are in place and that all those who need to know about the work are informed. Now, what is the purpose and the effective use of permit to work system? It is used in high risk activities like confined space entry. If you are going to do welding or any hot work or even a cold work in a confined space, of course, is a high hazard, high risk activity. So you need PTW. Parts of a safe system of work communicate hazards and control to user, links to risk assessment and task, job safety analysis used to identify hazards and plan precautions. Method statement like describe step by step how you're going to work can be completed safely. A few more features of permit to work system: assess and control interfaces and actions, plant and workers. Usually contains what scope of work, duration of work, date and time the permit is valid to form, from identification of hazards, isolations, other controls, links to other permits, emergency controls and specific control, permit acceptance and cancellation requirement. And for your better support, I uploaded 3 work permits training videos on our channel, Best International Training Zone, related to Saudi Aramco prerequisite work permit system. So you can watch these videos also, and I'm sure it will give you more better insights of work permit system. Interfaces with the adjacent plants, simultaneous operations like permit issuer must consider potential impact of works on adjacent plant like equipment and vice versa. If the installation has duty and standby plant, then control must be in place to ensure that these are not worked on simultaneously. Can we achieve by issuing permit from a central issuing authority or location? Interfaces with contractors. So, it will link to the customer and the contractor, and the permit or the client to the contractor. So permit to the work process protects both contractors and the workers. Both should be issued with permits where appropriate. Contractors may need to take additional measures like induction training. Permits should always be issued by the organization. Now, different types of permits are there as per NIBOSH theories, like the types of permits in isolation permit, general permit to work, and this isolation permit in Saudi Aramco, we call it EULB permit, equipment opening line break permit. Whenever there is like any confined space or which need to be drained or which need to be cleaned or have some purging process, and also you are doing some hot work. So of course you need EULB permit, and you need to disconnect or put some blinding to isolate certain lines from this confined space. You need this EULB permit in Saudi Aramco, equipment opening line break. Or otherwise, as per NIBOSH theories, is all about isolation permit. The second one is a hot work permit, cold work, electrical and confined space. Hot work permit, where we're going to use any activity where you believe there is a chance of ignition, you need hot work permit. And cold work, of course, there shouldn't be any chance of ignition. Electrical permit specifically, separately you can issue for electrical projects or a task. Confined space, any space which is not designed for human occupancy required, and it can be manhole, it can be like certain pipelines, it can be GSP, gas or separation plants, and excavated area deeper than 4 feet even would be considered confined space. So several other examples are there, but remember these 5 different types of permits to work are required as per Pearson theory. Now remember, what are the benefits and limitations of electronic and paper-based systems? Now Advantages in reducing the amount of paperwork associated with the permit process. Before introducing electronic system, operators must be sure that a suitable system, password protected electronic signature is in place. Prevent unauthorized use or acceptance that permits cannot be issued remotely without prior approval. Benefits and limitations of electronic and paper-based systems in place to prevent permits already issued from the being altered without the alternation being communicated to all concerned. Facilities for paper permits to be conducted for display at the job site. And several brands, especially Saudi Aramco, they are considering very sharply this electronic or they are going for digitalization for everything, including the permit to work system. So might be the system will be issuing the permit. You just need to upload the certain informations, and maybe the areas would also be sensorized or monitored remotely. So training provided to ensure that operators assess the specific job and do not rely on cutting and pasting from other permits. Backup systems available in case of a software failure or power outage. Circumstances when a PTW is not required, all work that requires a permit, e.g. the activities are not on live process plant, do not require isolation or disconnection, do not fall under the other permit activity definition like not hot work, confined space, etc. Another safe system of work may be more appropriate. So I repeat again, you can watch 3 of my videos at our channel Training Zone relevant to Saudi Aramco work permit system. It's a prerequisite requirement to be approved as a work permit receiver in Saudi Aramco. Now let's talk about 2.5 is all about safe shift handover. We are talking about element 2, management of process risk, and it's a NIBOSH process safety management training. Now, what is the importance of shift handover? Because you need to transfer some of the critical informations to the incoming shift. Like if your shift is going to be finished, the next shift required plenty of informations, what happened during the day shift and how they can manage well at the night shift. So it's very much important for the transformation of the critical information. Failure to do so, remember, can devastating consequences in a like in Piper Alpha. So you can go to YouTube and search what exactly happened in Piper Alpha, because this critical information was not shared while the ship was changing. Two-way communication and joint responsibility of both on outgoing and incoming shift leaders needs time to be done properly. Competence required workers carry out shift handovers must have the right level of technical knowledge and able to communicate effectively. So we need technically sound people for for this particular area. Now, shift handover, what are the key requirements? Make sure the shift handover must be given the highest priority, conducted face-to-face, done using accurate verbal and written communication. Handover logs are useful based on information needs of incoming staff, given as much as time as necessary. Typical information shared at shift handovers, the main issues communicated in like operational status of the plant is important, and that must be part of shifting the information to the next shift. Operational status of the plant, emergency situations or incidents, if any safety issues, maintenance activities like underway planned or permit to work details, especially those still open, the permits are still open and the work is going on. Operational issues for the incoming shift, like production plans, planned receipt of hazardous material deliveries, or any drills or exercise planned or physical demonstration of the plant state. So these are some of the typical information which must be shared to the next shift while you are handoving. Now, contractor management, a very critical topic, of course, because as I told you, many of the companies I noted, they believe our employees are excellent all the way, but whenever we get third-party contractors or the employees of the contractors, they are not very much reliable and have more chances of accidents for a company for their different processes. Now, what would be the scale of contractor used within the process industry? A contractor is an individual or organization paid to deliver a service without being directly employed. So widely used in the process industries for additional manpower and labor, specialist skills, designers, welders, etc. So you can give some examples of your company, within your workplace, what kind of contractors encounter in your workplace. Identify factors that could be considered when selecting a container and assessing their suitability for use on site. You need to think about and find out and design a contractor approval checklist. You can prepare that one. Consider it's kind of a homework. Otherwise, for contractor selection, these are the important points. Make sure you follow them and don't miss them. Assess for suitability using following criteria that include the experience in the type of work, trained in specific safety requirements of the environment, suitability of the organizations, health and safety policy is there, quality of their risk assessments, suitability of method statements, accident history like near miss reporting, enforcement history and prosecutions must be considered and evaluated before you select any contractor, health and safety performance monitoring, qualifications of all workers, including managers, membership of a professional body or trade associations, selection and management of subcontractors, insurance cover, liaison with clients, and reference from previous clients. Periodic review of contractor safety performance is essential to ensure the working to agreed standards compliance with documentation. That's also critical to review. The review may include what? Site inspection, safety tours, meetings to review performance. So periodic review of contractor safety performance must be there. And he can create a question here. What would be the, what should be reviewed while you are evaluating contractor performance? So maybe you can say, the review must include like the site inspection, safety tours, meetings to review performance, for compliance with documentation or working to accurate standards, essential to ensure even. Now, contractor induction. What induction must be there? Sign in and out procedures, emergency procedures, site rules. These are, general things. Mashallah, you guys are already well familiar. Specific site hazards, PP's requirements, PTW requirement like permit to work requirements, accident reporting procedures, near miss and hazard reporting. Now, contractor supervision is an ownership of contractor activities and make sure to include contractors and process risk assessment and safe systems of work. Clearly identify the person responsible for approval, day-to-day contractor management. Contractors should know who their client contact is. Now, how are we going to audit this contractor performance before, during, and after? So 3 stages. Even every process have 3 stages. Like before, what we have to do, during and after. Any process in the world, technical, non-technical, critical, simple, whatever level of process is there, always have 3 stages. Before starting that process, what we have to bear in our mind, what precautions required proactively, and during that particular process, what we are going to achieve or how are we going to ensure our safety, and then after completion, once the job is done, what we have to do. So same way, if auditing process is there to verify the contractor performance. So before work starts, initiate assessment of paperwork. During the work, monitoring working practices, and after completion, review performance like include accident history or to be carried out between client and contractor. And hand over to client, hand back of plant and equipment, and make sure of safer handover of building and installation arising from the project. Information handover include what informations you need to hand over to the client: operation and maintenance manuals, pipe work and instrumentation diagrams, updated layout plans, including location of services, design specifications, as built drawing. So these are the customer properties, and you have to return back to your client. No, citing of contractor accommodation. How are you gonna, where are you gonna site up this contractor accommodation? Process operators are valued at newly sited structures under MOC and include in the overall PHA. Temporary accommodation should be based on exclusion zone for areas where explosions are possible. All occupied trailers should be located outside of the vulnerable areas, even if they are moved beyond the facilities boundary. One of the incident, one vehicle was standing near to the plant, and he just turned off. It was even though a danger zone, and very terrible fumes were there. And the moment he came back, he turned on, and he just stayed for a few seconds to make sure the engine is heat up. And unfortunately, through the silencer, the heat gone to these, the fumes were available in the air. And suddenly the explosion is there. And we all know this fire triangle with some chemical reaction, of course, would create a terrible fire incident or maybe explosion, especially the biggest hazard in the high hazardous industries is explosion actually. Housing of contractors, concentration given to the safe location of the contractors on site, like facilities and amenities requires and located away from high hazard areas. So that was all about element 2, like establishing a PSM system or risk management techniques, assess management, role, purpose, and features of PTW, shift handover, and contractor management. That was all about element 2. And surely, I hope you will be having some better understanding how this knowledge is well designed by NIBOSH, especially to support the high hazardous industries, the process industries, through this NIBOSH PSM qualification. These are some of the questions related to element 2. Some of the notes also you can consider. Just have a look into it and maybe it will give you some benefit. Now we have to shift handover, contractor management. What is management of process risk? Process organization have in place a wide range of mitigation measures designed to reduce. So just study that question and see what would be the right answer. If you will be part of, if you will register in our institute, might be we will provide you all the right answers also. Okay, guys, thank you very much. So stay tuned for the third video of NIBOSH Process Safety Management, which would be all about process safety, hazard control. Please subscribe our channel, share with all your friends and your colleagues, and let our channel to be published globally, and surely it will be adding value and helping to different professionals and different levels of the organization, especially the safety professionals. Okay, thank you very much. And feel free to contact if you need any kind of QHSE quality health safety environment trainings or relevant to food safety, or even I would say some business soft skills. So feel free to WhatsApp me, because it's hard to attend or have some calls to attend, So please, you can WhatsApp me whenever I get time. I reply for sure. 00966 59 890 3439. My name is Ishtiaq. Thank you.